The biggest offseason question for the Nationals might just be what do they do with Keibert Ruiz? Well, he's under contract, but also he's underperforming. What gives?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And I am your host, Ryan Clary, your Nationals insider here, as we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. And later on in today's program, Bryce Harper, he's annoying. I'll tell you why that is. And it has to do with the Washington Nationals because he loves talking about the Nationals, I guess. He's annoying. Let's talk about that later on in the show today. And in the second segment, Nasim Nunez, I have got a case as to why he may be the one to benefit the most under Paul Toboni. I'll tell you why that is and really what could be happening for Nasim Nunez moving forward. But we start off discussing Keibert Ruiz, who probably is the biggest question surrounding this Nationals offseason. What will they do with Keibert Ruiz, and what will they do with this catcher position? Well, I've got my answer. It's time to move on. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and right now new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the app today. So Keibert Ruiz might be the biggest question mark surrounding the Washington Nationals. And I really don't think at this point that's even up for debate. I think right now in the season that Keibert Ruiz has put together each of the past few years just kind of goes to show you this is what he is now. The 27-year-old this year obviously went through his fair share of injuries. He had the concussion issues, and those are something that obviously we're going to take real seriously here. And people should really kind of put that into perspective. Like, this is someone who takes a beating behind the plate, and this is someone who has not had to work with a good pitching staff. And I do think that is something coming from an organization like the Dodgers, that's something you do have to think about. But also, the main thing is he has not been able to produce. He has not been able to produce really consistently offensively. He has not been able to take a step up defensively speaking. And right now, he is kind of a point of this national team that really holds us back. I truly do believe that right now, Keibert Ruiz is one of the Nationals' biggest issues at hand, because we all know that he is tied up with a contract through 2030. The Nationals were able to give him a pretty nice extension, but here's the good thing. That 8-year, $50 million contract extension that included a $3 million signing bonus and $50 million obviously guaranteed there at Major League Baseball, the Nationals do have a way out of this. The way out of this contract is simply by letting him go. If I am the Washington Nationals, you have to ask yourself this question. Is it worth it to keep Keibert Ruiz on this roster? Is he your long-term answer over at catcher? My answer to that is no. And I think the proof is in the pudding. Someone who is well below, probably one of the worst defensive catchers in all of baseball. Someone who has not produced at the plate. And he is kind of holding this team back at this point. He is the one guy that you have been able to extend. And when Keibert Ruiz is good offensively, then we could have a discussion surrounding what he is down the road. But right now, I've seen enough. We know what Ruiz is. There is no more room for growth. The opportunity that he had coming to DC, he joined a bad team in 2021. There's no way around that. But also, he has not been able to put up numbers. And even then, I've always kind of said to myself, I'm like, okay, for Keibert Ruiz, let's wait for Dylan Cruz and James Wood and Robert Hassel and Abrams and all these guys to establish themselves up in the major leagues. Well, they have done that. And he does have protection offensively. and he has regressed in that position. I think it's fair to say that you have seen your last time of catching this team. I think it's fair to make that conclusion today. Now, will the Nationals actually do that? Will they actually move off him and eat the money for the next 5 seasons plus? That's unlikely. But the good news is Keibert Ruiz is not an excuse for the Nationals to go out there and not spend money. I think about contracts that have hindered teams before. Chris Davis with the Orioles, Anthony Rendon with the Angels. Those are like massive, mega contracts that kill teams because they cannot produce at the level that their contract says they should produce. But this season, Keibert Ruiz wasn't even a top 12 highest paid catcher. And this is someone who's not making nothing. I mean, he made this season, according to Spot Track, he made $5.375 million. He's due that exact same amount this season. And then after that, it ramps up to about 7.5, and then 9.5, and then 9.5. And then you have a couple of team options after that you would think the Nationals will decline. This is not a contract that is going to completely sink your team. We have seen that in years past. And another one that I did not use was Steven Strasburg. Steven Strasburg's contract is sinking this team right now. He should be pitching for the Nationals. Obviously, we know what's happened. He's had injuries, and we actually talked about him on yesterday's show, and he's now coaching in today's game. So take a listen to yesterday's show for that information. But Keibert Ruiz, this is not going to be someone who will hold this team back. This is not going to be like it's Bobby Bonilla day where you pay him X amount of money. That's not what this is. This should not hold this organization back by any way, shape, or form. If you want to move off of Keibert Ruiz and say to yourself, this is not our long-term catcher, done. Do it. Finish off the rest of the money. I mean, off the top of my brain right now, just doing this quick math, it's what, $5.5 million this year, $5.5 million in 2027. That's $11 million right there. And then you have $7.5 million roughly. That's $18.5 million. Then it's $9.5. Like, you are eating $40 million over the next 5 seasons if you do that. That should be no issue for this team. Because the one thing that really stood true was when Drew Millis came in this season, he was by far and away the better catcher. He was the best catcher on this roster this season. And that's not to say that, oh my God, Drew Millis is some superstar of a player. The Nationals did have the worst catching tandem in all of baseball. So seeing Drew Millis, someone who is solid defensively, not the best, but he's a lot better than Riley Adams and Keibert Ruiz, you saw better pitching performances as well. You saw better defense. You saw guys being thrown out. This is something that the Nationals have not had under Keibert Ruiz. He has not taken the necessary steps that you should be taking. So this extension that he got a handful of years ago at this point, it's not hurting this team. But also the bigger story is it's not helping this team. His role is really just gone at this point. And unfortunately, maybe things are different. Maybe things are different with Ruiz if he were to come in here and, be healthy and not have injuries and weird head injuries. Of course, I mean, this year was a really tough thing for him. Like, that is something that I think a lot of people should think about. Having concussion symptoms every single day for months on end, like, that's no joke. That is something that I take really seriously, obviously. But also, this is a move that I think is necessary. And maybe Keibert Ruiz goes outside of this organization and completely balls out. That would not surprise me. I look at Keibert Ruiz and I'm like, okay, a switch hitting guy who does have pop from both sides of the plate. We haven't necessarily seen that consistently, but we have seen him with some pop, especially from the left side of the plate. Maybe he can do something. Maybe they do make a few tweaks, and maybe with an automated strike zone, he does become a better defensive catcher. Maybe the Nationals think of that right now. But if I'm Paul Toboni, I'm looking at this catcher position right now and think to myself, we got to upgrade this. And with Keibert Ruiz behind the plate, I think he does hold this team back. And more importantly, I think he holds this pitching staff back. Not being able to block balls, not being able to frame pitches. And again, to get into the numbers of what he was defensively, his framing was in the 7th percentile. His pop time, 10th percentile. His blocks above average in the 6th percentile. And this all goes with an average exit velo as an offensive guy in the 12th percentile, and his barrel percentage in like the 15th percentile, his bat speed, one of the lowest in all of baseball. This is someone who has bad metrics. I mean, it's not just our eye test that is saying this is not a good major league catcher at this point. It's also the numbers and the data that say that exact same thing about Ruiz. So this is going to be a big talking point for us going forward. There is no more, at least for me. Let's see what Keibert Ruiz does this year. The final shot for me was in 2025. Unfortunately, he did not improve. He regressed. So that's what the Nationals have to keep in mind. This is someone who has regressed and has continued to regress defensively as well. You got to keep that in the top of your brain. And hopefully the Nationals do that and really make something about this moving forward, because I do believe at this point, you're going to have a new catcher in DC, and hopefully it comes via free agency. So thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen. Next, let's talk about Nasim Nunez. I think Nasim Nunez will be a big beneficiary of this Paul Toboni era, but also may be the guy to benefit the most from the Paul Toboni era. I'll explain why after this. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, and you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action, and if you have not tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere that Prize Picks operates, including California, Texas, and of course, Georgia as well. And I've been using Prize Picks during both football Sundays, NBA tip-offs, and it keeps every game so exciting. I like picking my favorite players, whether it be Josh Allen going more in his passing yards, or Patrick Mahomes less on his passing yards. And plus, if one of your player leaves early with an injury, the injury reboot can save your lineup from a loss. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's so good to be right. And we are back here on Locked On Nationals, and we have a discussion about Bryce Harper. I'm not going to say I hate him. I dislike him a lot. I'll tell you why, because he's added to that pile. I'll tell you why later on. I'm a petty person, so stay tuned for that conversation later on in the show today. But Nasim Nunez, someone who I think is wildly underrated. I think Nasim Nunez could benefit the most by the Washington Nationals' new era here in town under Paul Toboni. And the reason why I say that is because I was talking about Ha-Seong Kim on yesterday's show, and I'm like, this is someone who could be your shortstop every single day. This is someone who runs the bases well. He's got gold glove potential up in the middle infield here for the Nationals. And I thought to myself, mid-segment, I'm like, we kind of have someone of that profile. Nasim Nunez. Nasim Nunez, he's kind of like the kid that you forget about, in a sense. And it's not a disrespect thing. This was a second-round pick back in 2019 by the Marlins. The Nationals got him right in the Rule 5 draft before the 2024 season, stuck within the organization, was sent down to AAA, came back up, and made the most of his opportunities this year and finished a 0.7 B WAR on the year. I loved Nasim Nunez's game. The one thing that has stayed true with Nunez is that he is a legit premier defensive shortstop. That is something that does not grow on trees nowadays. You are going to be looking at the person that I'll be telling about here any second now. Baseball has become this offensive first sport. Like, we're like, yeah, okay, he's good defensively, but what can this kid do at the plate? Like Ethan Holiday versus Eli Willits this past year. Everyone talked about Ethan Holiday's power. It's 70 grade power. This is someone who could hit 45 to 50 home runs a season. Like, he has legit power. But then you ask yourself this. Well, what position is he going to play? Okay, he's a shortstop in high school, but so was a lot of people in the major leagues. Like, that's one of your best players on your team. Of course you're going to play shortstop. But up in the majors, is this guy going to be a third baseman? And if he is a third baseman, will he be a good one? He's certainly not going to stick at shortstop, at least that's what I believe at this time. But Nasim Nunez is the guy who does everything correct. He is great defensively. He has got an incredible arm. He has proven that he could be an easy 30-plus stolen base guy if you were to give him the opportunity to do just that. Nasim Nunez might be that perfect mix to be that surprise player for the Nationals in 2025 or 2026 and beyond. And I don't think it's that crazy to even think that at this time. Nasim Nunez has grown into being one of the Nationals' more potent kind of players. Someone who has been able to play in the outfield and make web gem plays. You put him at second base, he's elite defensively. You put him at shortstop, he makes the elite plays. This is someone that I think that we kind of think to ourselves like, oh, with Ha-Seong Kim, that'd be a great signing. But also you kind of have that in your building. The big question for him is, what will he be as an offensive piece? Because he is so good defensively that you don't have to have the best numbers at the plate. But what he did provide this year was, number one, he had a 402 slug. I'll take that for someone who's not necessarily a power hitter, but he was able to get on base. He had that 2 home run game. He had 4 home runs in total this season. He had 2 doubles, and he also stole only 9 bases this year, but only was caught once. Like, he only got on base at a 30% clip. I think he can take a step up. But the one thing that was true about Nunez from the get-go was that this was someone that, when given the opportunity to play each and every single day, he took the opportunity and ran with it. I think Nasim Nunez is someone that we, and when I say we, I mean myself, I should not just look past the production that he has had. You look at some of the metrics, 98th percentile sprint speed, incredible. His arm strength in the 77th percentile, his range at shortstop well into the 7th percentile as well. This is someone who has proven to be elite on the base paths and at times elite defensively. The big question for him is, can he make the necessary tweaks offensively at this point? That's the big overwhelming question that I think Paul Toboni is going to have to answer. And luckily for the Nationals, you now have a data-driven organization. This is going to be a team that will drive themselves by the numbers. And of course, they're going to have boots on the ground scouting still. But at the end of the day, they will rely on data and analytics and what the facts say. The facts say about Nasim Nunez is, okay, the 2 weaknesses that the Nationals have is defense and base running. And we've got one guy that can do both of those things great. So when we are talking about free agents this year, and this is not about cost cutting, because let's be honest, are we sure the Nationals will spend on a Ha-Seong Kim type? I'm not convinced of it. You probably aren't either. But luckily for us, you kind of have that mold right here in town. I think Ha-Seong Kim is a better offensive weapon. He's obviously has a little more power, and he brings a little more seasoning and a little more, glamour, I guess you could say, being a household name in Major League Baseball. But Nasim Nunez had a 699 OPS this year. He batted .230. He had a 402 slug. And this is all in just 39 games. If you give him an opportunity shortstop just for now, that could be your Ha-Seong Kim of this offseason. That could be some of your thoughts and things that you want answered as far as this Nationals defense and base running mistakes go. Nasim Nunez is a winning player. And I think what he brings to the Nationals is something that not a lot of us really kind of take into account. He is a steady presence, not only in that clubhouse, but also on the field. He makes all the routine plays. He's a smart base runner. And I think that this is someone that is an absolute winning player for this team. And we don't have many of those right now. So watch out for Nasim Nunez. I think that he might be the one to benefit the most from Paul Toboni and tapping into some of his skill sets and really seeing what you can do with him offensively. Because if you can get this guy to be an average bat in Major League Baseball, that is a legit shortstop that you have in the wings that could be there every single day defensively. And if it's not shortstop, it's over at second base, or maybe it's in the outfield. The guy can do it all. So watch out for Nasim Nunez as we go into 2026. But Bryce Harper, step up to the podium. You're annoying. I'll tell you why after this. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. And plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. And it keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. The Wizards, they don't make too many late pushes, but when they do, I'm always on FanDuel because this young team with Trey Johnson and other guys filling in, they are a fun watch. I had Trey Johnson over on the points just last night, and yes, it hit. I also had the Wizards and, of course, the over on the game. That is what you have to do. It hit as well, so I had some fun watching my Wizards. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Bryce Harper. I don't hate him. I don't. I don't like him either. I don't want to like him. He's one of those guys where you're like, when he's yours, you love him. You love Bryce Harper. But also, he said something kind of stupid, in my opinion. Bryce Harper this past weekend, for those who are not aware, the Phillies president of baseball operations, he said something pretty not smart. Like, he basically, just paraphrasing what he said here, he kind of went on to say, like, yeah, Bryce Harper is not that great anymore, and he's kind of on the decline, and compared him to Freddie Freeman. Well, Freddie Freeman just hit a walk-off home run in the World Series last night at 3 a.m. Eastern time. He's doing pretty okay. So I think Dave Dombrowski made a stupid comment. Definitely made a stupid comment about Bryce Harper. But knowing Bryce Harper, this might be the thing that really pokes the bear. So Bryce Harper went on to The Athletic, and he let them know what was up. Bryce Harper has not been happy with the trade talk going around surrounding the Dave Dombrowski stuff, and them and Philly sports radio saying they're going to trade Bryce Harper. They're going to try to. And if they can, you should do it. You should not trade Bryce Harper. And that comes from a Nationals fan. This is a good player that you can win with, at least we think. But this is what Bryce Harper had to say. Quote, "I've given my all to Philly from the start," Harper told The Athletic on Saturday. "Now there is trade talk. I made every effort to avoid this. It's all I heard in DC with the Nationals. I hated it. It makes me feel uncomfortable." Spot the lie. I'll spot it here. You had trade talks in 2018 when this team stunk and was injured and entering your final year of the contract, in which we all kind of knew at that point that you would be walking away. The fact that he said, it's all I ever heard in DC. There was zero trade speculation in 2017. There was zero trade speculation in 2016, in 2015 when he won the MVP, in 14, 13, and 12. You had 1 year and really about a month that people were like, Bryce Harper might get traded. That's it. It's all I ever heard in DC. You're so wrong. That's just annoying. And yes, I understand it's easy to say now. It's a tough take for me to say after we've traded away Trey Turner, Max Scherzer, Juan Soto. I get it. We trade our stars. I know. It sucks. It's a reality of it. But Bryce Harper was the one guy that the Nationals could have and should have traded, but they did not because they thought they still had a chance to re-sign Harper. And by the way, Bryce Harper was going to come back to DC on a lesser deal, but the Nationals said no to that. So Bryce, where was this trade speculation? Where did anyone ever say that Bryce Harper might get traded before 2018? It's all I ever heard. Since when? Everyone knew that you would walk in free agency. That's obviously what everyone was talking about. Sorry that you're one of the biggest stars in baseball, and sorry that everybody wants to talk about you and you're on SportsCenter, you're on ESPN, and oh, you're kind of stupid, if I'm being honest, by wearing Las Vegas Golden Knights gear to the 2018 Stanley Cup with a team in a city that hasn't won a championship since 1991. That's not my decision to do that. So yeah, you had trade talk for a month here in DC. That's it. Before that, you guys were too busy competing to get in the playoffs because this was a playoff team that did not trade away talent, that traded away younger prospects to bring in major league talent. So hearing him say that, you just added fuel to my fire of not hating you, but disliking you. I don't hate you, Bryce. I dislike you. There's a difference. So seeing that, Bryce, be better. You're better than that. You're better than saying, oh, it's all the Nationals ever talk about. Kiss my ring, Bryce. Kiss it. Kiss it. Thank you. I called Bryce, but he had no ring. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen. 2019 World Series champs. Yeah, I will talk to you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.